You're visiting me again, my friends. Greetings to everyone from sunny Armenia. Today we have this gorgeous jam. You won't find this version anywhere else. I developed it especially for you to get a delicious, very beautiful and transparent jam. Also, everything is as simple as can be. It's very easy to make. You don't even need to peel the skin. Just imagine that. To start, of course, we need to choose the right apples. But right is a relative term because in fact you can use any apples. It's just that to get exactly what I'm offering you today, it's better to use late season varieties. They tend to be slightly tart and have these kinds of shades. Take a look, they're yellowish green with some rosy patches like this, but mostly in these shades. It's from these particular apples that you get this kind of clear, translucent jam, and the consistency of the jam is completely different from what you might expect, because these apples contain much more pectin, which is a natural thickening agent found in fruit. With these apples, even when you peel them, you can actually hear it. The sound is noticeably different. This means that they have a denser, firmer internal structure compared to other varieties, which contributes to the unique texture of the jam. We leave the peel on, carefully removing only the core and all of the membranes, which are those tough, fibrous parts found inside the fruit. Friends, these apples are grown by my mother-in-law. I've been making all these preserves from them for years now. If you noticed, I don't have just one variety here. There are different varieties, but they're all late-season apples. That's the most important thing. By the way, I also make a jam from these varieties that you can even cut with a knife. The pieces turn out dense, like little marmalade candies. But of course, they fall apart easily in your mouth and are very tender, not rubbery at all. And the method is the simplest. We use only sugar and the right apples. Although we leave the peel on, if there are any rough or uneven parts, it's best to remove them too, because we don't strain the mixture through a sieve at the end, and they can spoil the appearance of the finished product. I've already peeled everything, washed it again, and it's ready. It came out to 3 kilograms. By now I can tell just by looking, even without a scale. By the way, the container holds 7 liters, just so you know, and don't have to use a scale. By the way, the 7-liter mark here is actually a few centimeters lower. So for every kilogram of apples, you need 300 to 330 grams of sugar, and in addition to the sugar, we also add water. I know there will be discussions about how jam or fruit butter shouldn't have water added, but there are different methods, and this particular method does require adding water. To start with, as strange as it may sound, for fruit butter we first make a syrup from water and sugar. Here I have a cup with a volume of 330 milliliters, and in this cup there are 300 grams. This is how much 300 grams is. I'll show you right now. It's almost to the rim, just about half a centimeter below the edge. We add 3 of these cups. For 1 kilogram of apples, we add 200 milliliters of water. I put it on the stove at a heat just above medium. I start cooking our syrup until the mixture comes to a boil. I'll tell you what to do next. For this recipe, I prefer to use citric acid, friends. I've already calculated all the proportions. In my opinion, this way turns out much better. Both the texture, the color, and the taste. As soon as it starts to boil vigorously, cook for about a minute. And then add the citric acid. For each kilogram of apples, it's just under half a teaspoon. Mix it all together thoroughly until everything is well combined. And gradually add our fresh apples. When adding the apples, turn the heat up to maximum. Stir occasionally and bring the mixture to a boil. We'll continue after that. Again, use high heat. Stir from time to time so that everything cooks evenly. You see, a vigorous boil has started. There's even some foam appearing. From this moment, start timing. Cook until the pieces become almost transparent. I'll show you what that looks like. And yes, starting from the moment of vigorous boiling, the heat should no longer be as high. Set it just above medium or just below maximum. It depends on the type of stove you're using. Adjust the heat accordingly, keeping that in mind. You see, a transparent texture is gradually starting to appear. Take a look. Of course, we have different varieties here, and they reach this state at different times, so we wait until most of them become like this. After there's very little syrup left in the pan, turn off the heat, of course, and then, as the next step, start whipping the mixture. At this very moment in time, right now. Set it on low heat and allow it to gradually come up to a vigorous rolling boil. As soon as you notice that it starts boiling, immediately and carefully pour the hot liquid into prepared jars. Active bubbling has started. If you noticed, this mixture doesn't splatter at all because there's no excess liquid left inside. And everything around stays clean. That's it. Now we have bubbles all over the surface, which means we can start pouring it into jars. I don't turn off the gas at this point, friends. I leave it on so it keeps boiling. But I set it to the lowest setting. And at the very end, for those who are interested, I'll tell you a very quick and convenient way to prepare the jars. The number 1, which is 1. Important point. When you are cooking apples in syrup and notice at the end that the mixture is already quite dry, there's almost no syrup left and it starts to burn, but the apples still haven't reached the desired consistency. At least some of them haven't turned transparent yet. You can, to save time, add a little cold water. Go ahead and add it, nothing will happen. Just keep going until you get the exact state of apples that we need. The amount of water I mentioned is usually enough until the very end, but situations can vary and so do the apple varieties. Although I've made this with many different kinds, just keep in mind that it's possible you might need a bit more. Of course, don't overdo it either. Add small portions of 100 to 150 milliliters, 2 or 3 times at most. And that's it. After that, no matter what consistency the mixture or the apples have reached, we stop and blend it. No, I haven't forgotten. I remember. I promised to tell you how I prepare the jars. So I simply wash them beforehand, and while they're still wet, I turn them upside down and place them in a cold oven right on the rack. Remember, put them in a cold oven, and only then turn it on to 120 degrees, close the door, and leave them until they are completely dry. That is, until they are totally dry, plus a few more minutes. If you forget and leave them in longer, it's not a big deal. Of course, this doesn't actually disinfect them, because at home, no matter how hard we try, we can't create the necessary conditions for real disinfection. This way, we simply get jars that are as clean as possible. And in cases where you need to wipe them, this method is a real find because they come out absolutely dry.